Okay. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Hi everybody. I think we have this set up. Um, Sorry if my dog's barking in the background. She's gonna probably be doing that for a little bit. But she should stop eventually. Do a quick little run through of the tests, different tests. See, we got it on screen now. Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, my UI for my chat is hooked up this time, so that's cool. Let me just double check my voice. Oh, you can 100% hear her on stream. Okay, well, she hopefully will stop eventually. But yeah, cool. So, hey everybody. Um, oh, Today we're gonna be working on what is this one? Oh, this right here. This today we're working on something I've been kind of playing with for a little bit. Something I want to do for a little while. Um, but I just haven't got around to it. And then I've been working on doing some. Where am I hearing that from? Weird. Hearing barking in my headphone. Or maybe it's outside. I don't know. Is that just my headphone doing that? I don't know. That's weird. Anyway. Um. Well, anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so this is something I want to do, play around with for a little bit. This is a D&D character that was in my D&D sessions when I used to DM character, an NPC that my players really liked and that I liked. Um, and I've been working on doing some drawing challenge for by I think it's Jens Glassen or something like that. Let me get out of this. I've been doing his draw a day challenge. This week, this month is animals. Let me make sure I'm draw challenge. The drawing challenge is what it's called. It's called the drawing challenge. Yeah. So, I, yeah, you basically draw each day by Jens Classings or something similar to that. Um, and the challenge this month is animals, and it's a creature design from Ref. So that's what I've been working on for this month, and I've hit six. Today's day 7 of 21, so that's actually a lot. But yeah, so just been trying to do each day do so either a creature design, which I'm not as good at, and that's harder because that's more from without a reference or with other. I mean, not without a reference. It's with references, but mixing references to do designs. That's kind of working some of the dragon stuff too last time. Um, and playing around with just stuff for creatures and studies and things like that. Did the studies are easier and I can do studies fairly decently. The harder part is the design challenges or more just designing a creature or something. Especially in 2D. In 3D, I can do a little bit more with it, but 2D has been more of a challenge. Then I didn't want to just I didn't want to just do a I just didn't want to do another reference just something for copying a reference. I wanted to actually do something that feels a little more design challenge. Yeah, so this we've been working on is like a D&D character that I've had for a bit. And just wanted to make a little design thing for him, but I will be right back. I have to go do something. I will be right back though. You enjoy Mert dancing. All right, back. Sorry about that. But yeah, so this challenge is just kind of going to be working on this character. This Bullywug was the original character, this NPC I was working on there that I had. Um, and so this is going to be working on this, that using that as a reference, or using that idea as the seed to build from this point. But yeah, actually, hold on, let me go let my dog in. Hey. Oh, she's not coming in. Okay, but yeah, so this is using that reference, or using that idea to make this character. Um, oh, so many dogs in the house right now. Yeah, so let me go ahead and clean this up really quick. Right now we have all these test characters I've been working on. Just sketching things out so we're not starting from complete scratch. I think right here, all these. Let's go ahead and group these together. Make that a little longer so I can see. Yeah, so all these are the uh sketching ideas that I was doing for this originally. Just trying to figure out some like uh rough proportions and poses and things. I kind of knew what I wanted a little bit, but I needed to really like play around with the idea to really get it in place a bit more. Eventually settled on this last one. This last idea is the one that I currently have as the working piece that I think I want to go with. I did so. See, we did some sketches right up here. Let me go ahead and just on a different layer. Let's add notes. This is what I like to do. Easier. I do this in my. I do this in my digital notes too. Oh man, camera again. Let's try deactivating and activating again. Okay, cool. So, okay, that works. Okay, so for whatever reason, my camera's been freezing up, so it may freeze up here and there. We'll figure out what another thing to troubleshoot. But yeah, so the yeah, I like to on my uh digital notes. I also like to make or digital sketches. I like to make notes also. So usually I'll come through, do a few messy, just test sketches to figure things out. Um, and this is something that I'm still working on getting my workflow completely in place. But eventually, want to get this a little bit more streamlined and figure this out how I kind of go through, iterate through things. But right now, ideas basically just sketch things out, make some notes on them, figure out what works, what doesn't work, figure out just proportions, shapes, and things like that. The one for this, let me see, so just get some notes in here. But yeah, I do like to get notes on digital sketches. Uh, this is little stars, like my thing I would put on all my notes for some reason. But yeah, so I like to get. Let me see if I can raise this up a little bit so I'm not hitting it every time I hit Control Z. I will be hitting Control Z a lot. But yeah, I like to for the notes I like to make some notes on the sketches on things I do like and don't like. And I have this. I also started this initially on Procreate. Over here, uh, not hooked up to a camera or anything. But yeah, I like to start on I started this on Procreate. I don't love to sketch on Procreate, but I have, you can kind of see that I have the initial starting sketches on here that I played around with some ideas for what I wanted this character to look like, and then made some notes on there. Then it came back in here, and I do like to be in Photoshop and using my Cintiq more than in the iPad. And it's also easier. I think the biggest thing for me that I like about the iPad that I don't get in when working in Procreate, and that's mostly just my desk setup, but it's that I don't have references as easily available like on PureRef on my personal computer. I just have PureRef easily available, and able to reference, and that helps a lot more when you're trying to build something, even if it's from, you know, memory. So I'm working on Procreate. I'm usually just not using any references or using one on my phone. It's not a good setup, and that's partly just because I don't have a desk setup that's that nice. I just don't like to pull in images to Procreate, because usually you pull in an image, you pull in like one image into Procreate, and it's not how I like to work. I like to have a big reference board and just to constantly be referencing back and forth and moving around a lot. And I guess I can kind of show my references over. Ooh, disappeared. Oh, because it's always on bottom. That's what I set it to. Uh, did this last time. Nope. I'll do that. Enable overlay mode. Enable transparent settings. Always on top. There we go. Always on top. Here we go. And if I can get it to, yeah, there we go. Cool. So, yeah. So, reference pure ref board usually looks like this. So something, and I definitely may do more references than I should on pure ref. I would definitely say that that's something that I have a tendency to do and probably don't need all this, but I still feel better if I have more references than if I don't have enough. I know some artists are really good at using just a few references and then really locking in their design from those reference points. Uh, I don't work as well like that, and maybe that's partly, when you get more confidence that you can work better like that. I know I definitely can work better with smaller reference or a smaller amount of references uh, when it's like a specific something I'm comfortable, I guess, more comfortable with, like anatomy and things like that. Like I just need one. I don't need to understand how, every single arm reference, unless I'm sculpting, then you do need a lot sometimes because there's more details you can get. Uh, but anyway, that's the way I approach reference. So the way I approach references is just have a lot, and just if I need something, I have it there already, and I don't have to go search up new things. It really depends what I'm doing. I guess if I'm doing stuff more from imagination, and if it's just quick sketching and things like that, like when I'm doing on Procreate, default to more. I default to more of a uh, just using my knowledge of manipulating shapes and things like that, and then just getting like one reference from Pinterest or something like that to be the thing I'm copying or really referencing from. But for like a project that I want to be good, and whether it's going to be in 2D art or in something like 3D, I'd like to have a big, like, good reference board, and to having this piece really well organized and done for me, and like uh being built in a way that like helps me make projects that feel more complete. At least when I'm trying to do them, especially in 3D. 2D is not as I'm not as clean. But yeah, so this is what I like to this is what how I like to build them. I've been better about organizing. I have the shortcuts like pretty well uh mapped out now, or just maybe memorized now, that I have a pretty good method of just throwing things down at once, organizing with some shortcuts, normalizing the size and things like that. Uh, I arrange them. I like to arrange them either by optimal, which just kind of puts them in a good order. Which something like this where I don't really have a yeah, something like this where I don't really have like a specific, like I don't have specific things grouped together in the way that I pulled them down. It doesn't really matter to me how they're arranged, whether it's, it's newest to oldest or anything like that. So Control P usually is optimal arrangement, so you can go like this and just play around with what feels good for like a good optimal arrangement and what feels good visually. So Control P is for that one, and something like this, I just have ideas that I've taken that I know I want to use for like paint. I want to have like a painting reference because I want to turn this into like a old, old oil painted uh, sort of rendering, I guess, at the end, or yeah, the style that I want this piece that I'm working on in. So these don't really matter what order they're in. It doesn't matter if this one is next to like this one here or if it's at the end or anything like that. Like it's just reference that I can come through and be like, okay, I like this the strokes here and the techniques. And I mean this is also a really good painting just a reference in general. This one's a I want to say it's Sargent. Let me double check that. But I think like every American painter or every uh everyone who's referencing oil painting will reference this one, and I believe it's Sargent Boss. Yeah, yeah. No. John Singer Sargent. I believe this is John Singer Sargent. It might not be, but I Sargent painting. Sure, maybe it's not him. No, may not be him. Okay, but yeah, no, this one's the one that I do reference, or it is a good oil painting reference. Is it really not? Who did this? Anyway, this is a complete detour. This is how I get stuck down rabbit holes, though, too. Uh, oh yeah, no, it's not Sargent. It is. This is Velasquez. Okay, this is Velasquez. Never mind. Velasquez is also another popular one. I thought it was Sargent, but not true. Okay, anyway, detour. Good to know. But yeah, this is a good one to reference. Um, so I do. Anyway, detour completely. These are just oil painting references that I want because I want this to be the final look for this D&D character we're working on. I have a few things, and I've been better at organizing now. That I have my like I build notes. Uh, rapiers, and then that's probably not a sheath, but anyway. So yeah, so this is something that I have different all the elements that I want to build inside here. I have them. I try to make notes for them now, and I used to not do it like this, and I would just lay everything flat out and just kind of arrange them in the right order, or something in order that made sense to me, and it still works, I guess, sometimes. But I really like to uh, do this, especially as I've been on my ADHD medication, where I can organize things a little bit more. I do think it makes it easier to organize things in this way where you actually have specific elements. So just kind of going through here, I've spent a little bit of time on this already. But yeah, this is the style that I'm trying to go for, something that's in a very painterly technique. Oil painting reminiscent. I want the pose to feel like this, to feel eh, this extravagant, I guess, or gaudy, maybe is the right word. Uh, the way these oil paintings were kind of gaudy in their poses and their um, decorations and ornateness, and to feel like they're have that. I want it to feel like it has the dramatic feeling of a portrait, an oil painting portrait of an important person. So that's the style I wanted in. I have things for the weapons. Like I know I want a rapier for the weapon that this character is wielding, so I do have the some references for rapiers and sort of the style I want. And we can riff on it a little bit uh, when we were playing around with it. It'll probably be much simpler, or might not even be really defined, depending on what we do. But I have these are a few ideas of the vibe I want for this weapon, and this helps also find a good silhouette and just construction of how rapiers are even put together. So things like these real historic ones are really good to reference. Something like this is a little bit more ornate, and I would say a little more fantasy or fantastical fantasy than even like a realistic one. So this is more for the decoration, the decorative elements of it, the the magical elements of this character and their weaponry, the kind of D&D, I guess, fantasy pieces of it. And then these other ones are still can be ornate and opulent and a little impractical, but they still have a more sound, realistic construction, which helps when you're really defining a certain item. So that's what all these are for. I have sheaths is not the right word for this. I think it's I don't know. There's probably a better way, probably a more correct sword term, but this is still good enough to uh, I understand what it means, and that's all my notes really are for. But I wanted to have this to understand how the sword would hang on the belt, possible ways to hang on the belt, and I wanted this pose because I do want the character to have their hand on or resting on the hilt, which you can see some kind of like what's in this one right here in this portrait here, and just some references from here and yeah, so this is just the getting the ideas here so I can come and reference and not have to go on like Pinterest or anything like that. And like some of this I can do construction wise, I can do by manipulating shapes and things like that because I've gotten to a point where I can do that a little better. I don't need to directly copy for a reference, but it still helps to be able to see a reference and understand how things kind of fall in relation to each other. So things like sheets, I do want some rose imagery if I can. So I've got some real rose images. I got a really simple one too to be able to understand in more of a graphical way how things layer. But yeah, just some ideas for different decorative elements. I have some fabric ideas and what I want the clothing to feel like. And this stuff matters a lot more, I feel like, in 3D than it is in 2D because in 2D, you don't have to be exact. You're not making a whole garment, you're only making what's seen. 3D, you do that to a certain degree also, but I definitely feel like it's a lot more intentional. You have to be a lot more intentional in 3D because it's just important to understand how to build it because it might be seen from different angles, and so you have to account for more than you would in 2D, even if you're only rendering from one angle. It's just easier to, I think, see more loose geometry. It's easier to see if something has like more loose geometry than if something in drawing has like a loose edge or a lost edge and things like that. So um, just kind of rough ideas here. I do want the armor to be a little bit more for this character. It's a little bit more Fey based. So I got some Elven armor references from different things. Like with Baldur's Gate, we have a very Elven looking armor here. A lot of Lord of the Rings references. Um, so that we can reference here. I do like a lot of the flow of the Elven armor. I feel like that just feels Elven, very flowy, um, and almost nature like the way it flows and the angles that kind of come in. So that's something that when I was looking for references, I was trying to find things that felt elvish and that felt layered and angled, and I like this a lot. I think it's from The Hobbit, probably. But yeah, I like the way this flows, or this could be Rings of Power. But I like the things that feel almost natural, organic, almost leaf-like. So just getting some, just influences from all this. But I do like these flowing lines a lot, and I do like this one though a lot too because it does feel very. I still do want it to feel like traditional knight armor, traditional steel, a little bit, but I do want it to have some of those fantastical elements. So I do think this is a cool reference. Uh, this one's a little bit more fantastical too. Just just some different elements and way to layer it because it doesn't need to feel completely realistic. So yeah, just things like this just help get some of those more decorative elements or just not realistic elements. So less of these because they have more design to them. And I think things are usually about, I would say like 70% needs to be based in probably in reality, and the other 30% is where you can kind of do the more design pieces. Um, It's because like things like this armor, I mean, this doesn't look too bad. But like I'm sure some of this armor is definitely more design than actual practical, which is cool. I think you can do that too. Um, I feel like, especially like in anime, it's just like it's almost probably like uh, that's probably a little bit more like uh 30% actual rooted actual in the rooted in actual construction, and the other like 70% is probably more design stuff. But for a lot of things, I feel like a good rule of thumb, at least how I try to do it, is about 70% based in reality and like 30% in more decorative design elements like this. So the other 70% is going to be the real world inspo. This is going to be, and even this is a little bit, probably a little bit design too at this point, because it's not, I mean, nobody's really using armor anymore, but there is some actual more realistic elements that go into it. So this is a whole bunch of just inspiration for different types of armor, knight armor, the kind of vibe I'm looking for. This is probably also probably more than we need for something like this, but a lot of inspiration from things like this, where you have the billowy fabric on the sides, and then you have like a good, or like the fabric's really billowy, and then you have like a good like cuirass uh that's a metal kind of traditional knight looking armor, something like this. I like this one a lot too. But yeah, this is more grounded and realistic, and so this is where we pull some stuff from for its design. A little more grounded area to build off of, and then once we kind of get that grounded piece in there, then we can start building off some of that, the more decorative elements. Like I like that a lot too. It still feels, that actually feels kind of both decorative and design oriented, and then still a little bit fantastical. So, but yeah, just to have this in there for inspiration to see different things. Then we have over here, these are more just some high detail shots from different websites. This is more, uh, this is from I think more, I guess what would you call it, like a replicated. What's the right word? I'm very tired today too, so I'm losing that word. What's that? What's the word I'm looking for? But yeah, these are more um, basically recreations of, I believe, more historically inspired armor. At least in some of the construction and things like that, it does feel more authentic. So, but the cool thing is that usually when someone's trying to sell you something from a site or anything like that, you can, they usually have a lot of pretty high quality images, so you can really get into more of the construction and details and things like that of these pieces. So like here we have, we can really get some high quality images that are just very detailed, things like straps and little details like that, and we can kind of really look in here and see like what's the construction of these, or what is the construction of these like greaves actually entail? How do they connect to the over the boots, things like that? How they wrap around? What are the attachment points? This is just good construction information. I like things like this a lot, and I think in 3D this matters a lot more. 2D, you can kind of fudge things a little bit more, so it's not as important, but it's good to have. And then I might even take this pure ref board after I'm done and just make a full like armor board, because I've been doing that a lot lately to reference, because I think that is, I like just having a big board with all the things I kind of go through and be like, okay, I'm looking for this specific thing, I know I can find it here. um so that's something I personally like to do, so I might take this and get these good detail shots. Maybe less inspiration, more detailed shots like this to pull from. But we all here, we also have more greaves. We have gauntlet pieces here, and this is really useful for trying to figure out like articulation and things like that. Different references or different angles to reference from. And then like you can see the leather glove underneath. There's another cuirass, another breastplate, to really like see, especially like these things here. And I one of the things I probably do need to do a little bit more, and I have done in the past, but it's been a while. If I'm and doing this, if I had more time and wasn't just kind of trying to do this like a sketch, I would probably. Ooh, where did we go? Move that weirdly. let's change all this. Open at ref. Update its text and make sure that just it's working too. Looking at refs, cool. All right, that worked. Cool. But yeah, so yeah, this is something I would probably, if I was doing this with a little more time, I would probably spend some time and actually just do some studies on armor pieces that are just purely studies on armor. So we take a reference, copy it exactly, or at least understand the construction and then turn it and things like that. And I probably need to spend some more time just to do that. In general, it's good for studies, good for different things, like just for anything you're working on. I also probably should have done some more frog studies before I did this. I've always struggled with frogs, and I think it's a really it, try to find that really good way of making a frog that feels like a frog but still feel a little stylized. So I haven't completely gotten there yet, but we'll see what we get with this. So that's something I also probably would have done differently, doing this. If I had done this in the past, or done this with a little more time and a little more planned out, like maybe for a longer project. But anyway, yeah, some more curious, not more curious, more gauntlets, some shoulder areas here, these are important because I know in 3D I've modeled these a lot. Uh, Trying to figure this out, but like figuring out how these connect to the armor on the body is pretty important, and how these are layered is also pretty useful. How they're riveted, how they connect. This is all stuff I've looked at a lot in the past, so it's good to have like a good reference that's just you can go to and be like, okay, I can see the construction here. Then just more realistic pieces of armor. Don't have to go through everything. A little bit more decorative on some of these. So like this is a more decorative piece, which is just kind of interesting. Um, yeah, it has different ways to connect to. So yeah, that's all this is. It's just the references, and then I have, since we are doing like a bullywug, I have humanoid frog references from different artists, both from Pinterest, in different ways. And I this isn't the best build up either. I know I've done stuff in the past. I built up better boards, but yeah, I just built up this one recently. Also like getting really stylized. This one's a good one, but I like getting really stylized versions of different things, of like animals and frogs and things like that too. If whatever I'm working on, because I think there's a lot of energy and like emotion you can capture from from understanding how simple versions work and look. Like this is a really simple form and drawing of a frog, but you can tell pretty easily it's a frog, which is something that I think it's important to be able to kind of see and understand what aspects make something look like something and feel like something. So that's what this is here. And then real frogs, just real references to pull from. Different varying levels of quality on these. A lot of them are from Pinterest. Pinterest is harder to find stuff now too because a lot of it's AI. But I'm not going to copy any of these directly either. So just ideas. And then even here's a drawing of a more realistic version of Frog, which is probably what uh, this is probably what I should have done if I'm doing something like this with more time, is to draw a bunch of sketches of frogs and really understand what makes something feel like a frog. Like I think here one of the things is you can kind of see that they have like smaller upper shoulders and legs or and arms, and then as they get more to the forearm, it gets thicker. I think that's something that's interesting to do especially when you stylize. Yeah, it definitely feels like a frog. But yeah, just kind of understanding the shape, understanding the form, and things like that. I think is a good way to build something and then uh oh, fix camera again, deactivate, activate. Cool. Weird. I gotta figure out what's going on with that. But yeah, so I think this is a good way uh to do studies, and then you can see here's this person went through all the studies, did all these shapes, or did all these frogs, understood the shapes, understood the construction, understood what made a frog feel like a frog by doing these studies, and then they finish it off by doing a frog person by taking kind of what they had learned, different aspects. Like you can see the eyes a little bit here. You can see parts of this piece of like eyes up here kind of come into the eyes here. Um, just different things that we're kind of doing the studies, because doing the studies is what helps you understand what construction of a thing really is entailed of, I guess that makes sense. So something you can kind of really find the things that make something feel like that thing, which is a really bad way to describe it, but it's just it. I think of when you spend some time doing studies and just focusing on something specifically and really getting in there, you're forced to really just think about it and understand it and like really cement in your mind. That's also how you build up your visual library. Um, so important stuff to learn. And I think that's something that studies really are important for. And that's why if you do studies beforehand, before you actually start on the actual pieces, you end up building up that knowledge and that understanding before you actually just even put pen to paper or for your final project. And you have like an innate knowledge in there. And especially, I think when you've done something a lot, you start to be able to do it without looking at references as much. And that's part of like why it's important to do your basic shapes and things like that first, because when you do those, you over and over again, it starts to build up and it starts to actually cement in your head a little bit better. At least I feel like it does. But anyway, so enough of that little spiel. We can actually start getting into the meat of this. So here we are going to start with uh, a we're gonna go back to my sketches we have here. This is where I landed right now, currently. So really rough, really just messy idea jotting sketches, and so all these up here were just different ideas. I liked the uh, feeling of this one, of this one right here. I did like how uh, the the body shape of him, the weight. I liked that the angle was upwards a little bit. Uh, Angle. Oh, that's really bad. Let me switch to a different pen for writing. Let's go to and these are all my sketch things. I do tend or my brushes I use. Josh Black brushes are the ones that I go to a lot, especially for the I think for like my initial sketching pen. I do like his pencil, his black pencil, a lot. And then I do use Sam Does Arts brushes too. And I have a few others. I switch it up. I do like Himesh uh, ones also. Those I do still because he does a lot of very very technical hard surface stuff, and so when I'm doing something more hard surface, I do tend to go towards those more. But yeah, so let me see. So this one, I usually like to go. I usually like to make notes, and ooh, I cannot do this right now. Do a little star, like this is really messy. Actually, not used to doing this as much in Photoshop. I usually make the notes in my Procreate sketches first. But yeah, so I like this one. I like the. I don't know if anybody can actually read that. Like upwards angle. Um, and that would be like two upwards. Maybe two angled, but would be kind of the thing here. So yeah, so this is one that dang again with the camera. Wait, yeah, I think my camera link is messed up. That's something we'll have to replace. But yeah, so here it's like I like this one. I like that it's up looking upwards. I do kind of like the angle. I like the body of it. Uh, Body, like body shape. Um, so yeah, so like I like the body shape of this one. So I like this one a lot. This one, I like like arm, like arm length on this one. Uh don't like that it's downwards. Uh, don't like down, downward, yeah, downwards angle. Don't like downwards angle. So I don't like that it's looking down on this because I feel like a portrait feels like it need like the painting portraits I'm trying to emulate feel like it needs to be more more powerful, I would say. I don't know if that's the right word either, but disabled, yeah. So more powerful, and I feel like looking down on a character doesn't feel like it has that power. Um, so then we went to this one. I like and proportions. Don't like legs. Legs figure out. Yeah, I don't know how some artists are able to like just like make notes that look so nice. Yeah, I might never have done look nice, but most of them they're just for me. But yeah, so going through these, I like this first one a lot. Uh, I like the angle that he's at. I think he's too upwards. It feels like we're like looking down from below, which feels too much upwards for a portrait. I don't think your portraits they might be above a little bit, but not you're not from the bottom, looking up at them. You're not seeing underneath their stomach. So this one feels a little too extreme, but I did like this one. I did like the angle. I did like the body shape on this one, so I liked that he was a little pudgier, a little rounder. Um, so this is something I did. So then I went to this one, started playing around with this. Felt this one was looking kind of like you're looking down on them. It's not what I intended, but it's kind of what it ended up being. And so I didn't really like this one. I did like that the arms are longer. I like that. I feel like a frog should have longer arms. Um, but and I was okay with the legs on this one, but it felt really stiff too. So this one is where we started to kind of get more into the swing of it. Um, Felt more like what I was going to go for. I like the outfit a little bit more. Like later that, I like that they put the sword in there. Um, like the little flower, things like that. But also felt like I was struggling with the perspective a lot when I was working on this one, and I felt like I just got really messy because I wasn't sure where I was going with it, and I didn't like the legs how they kind of looked too. Felt like they're just kind of just squatting, which is it's okay. I just didn't feel whatever, but I at least felt like I understood the direction a little better. This is the one I ended up landing on, and even this one, I'm sure we could find a lot of stuff to fix with this and improve on. But this is supposed to be just daily challenge, so something I started earlier today and trying to complete you know by this, and or at least enough of this. Uh, and still, this is semi sketch. It's not going to be a full piece, but it's a semi sketchy piece. But this one, I played around with. I think I was more deliberate about the perspective and the perspective of the way I constructed him with the construction of the limbs and things like that. And this is where I kind of really had to, because I was struggling with it a little bit, but I really had to. Sorry about that. I really had to sit and be deliberate about what I was doing with the character and with the construction. I think it's easy for, especially when you're in a sketching, just kind of throwing ideas down. You kind of just put things down and really just throw ideas in a really sketchy and messy way. But it's very easy to get messy and get lost and not make deliberate decisions because you're like, well, I'm sketching, so I need to figure it out. And I think it's good to do that. And it's good to help you warm up and to get ideas and just to get stuff down. And I think some artists can immediately put something down and really uh, just get something that looks really nice really quickly. I'm not that artist yet. Sorry. And yes, this is something I deliberately had to actually make the choice. Okay, I need to figure out the body, figure out the perspective a little bit more. And I'm sure my perspective is off a bit because my perspective is always hard, and I don't I probably need to devote more time to it studying it than I do currently. But yeah, so this but anyway, so but had at least something down. I decided roughly that you're not going to be beneath his stomach, you're not going to see under his stomach, but you will get some of it. And I decided that you are gonna be able to see a little bit under his head, similar to the first one, uh, where you can see underneath the neck a little bit, but maybe not as extreme as what I was planning on doing. So I set the horizon line roughly around the stomach, so you're anything below the stomach you should be seeing on top of. Uh, not here. It just felt like you were seeing a little bit on the top one. You felt like you were seeing a little bit more than like if you were lower. I didn't really like I didn't really want that as much. Um and I mean technically I still would be seeing a little bit. I don't know. Technically I think the leg is a little off, but it's also coming forward. It's whatever. We're probably going to end up cutting the legs off and just keeping it within this range right here. Like a portrait, maybe more like actually probably more like this. Something like this. But at least wanted to do the whole body so I can you could at least feel out the shapes and proportions. Anyway, yes, but I like the head a little bit more on this because that's always a struggle too. Trying to figuring out like okay, we're not seeing above the shoulders as much. Um, we have the wrapping line so we understand where it's going, so we can see. Oh, way too close. Here, here underneath the pecs, basically a wrapping line because it's the way stomach is. So the stomach would basically be wrapping like this the whole way through. It's like a sphere. Um, Technically, this would probably this would be need to be a little lower. Actually, this is kind of more for construction, but technically, the pec would probably need to be something like this, something like that. Um, because it needs to connect. Still, even though the shoulders are a little bit more stooped, a little lower, which I did want, I do think that he still would need to. It's still the pec still needs to connect. Needs to connect somewhere around right there. Anyway, it's gonna be covered up anyway. I don't know why I'm messing with this. Anyway, yeah, so it needs to connect somewhere right there. Uh, but regardless, anyway, that's just something I was figuring out. So yeah, so just he feels a little more angled, feels like we're looking up at him. Getting the arms roughly in where I want them to be. I put the sword in there, so I get the sword roughly in there. I gave him his other arm from what you would kind of see from that side. Face, I wanted it turned a little bit to the side, but um, not feel or not feel like it was just straight on. Feel like there's a little bit of pose to him. So yeah, so this was just roughly in a thing a pose enough that I wanted to push forward enough uh with the time allotment we have. So then on top of that, we kind of see a little bit better here. It's real loose sketch too, but this was just roughing in the shapes of the different accessories that he's gonna have on him. So we can see we have just in here turning it off and on. This is him without his accessories. This is him with his accessories. just getting the rough idea of what that's gonna look like in here. Um, and all you can see it. All it really is some loose details on the armor, some loose details on the armor, cape in the back. There's that little ruffle neck thing. Some of the what do you call this? The I guess the billowy piece of his uh sleeve, the upper part of the sleeve, and then we just have yeah, it's just the little whatever that little circle thing's called. I know there's a name for it, and I know I've known it before, but I don't remember it now. One other thing that I think I want to put real quick for here, but it's getting really messy right now, so hard to actually put something in because it's so messy. And so this is about the part where I start cleaning up. We have the rough idea in, but I'm gonna go ahead and just add some of these. I don't know what you call it. The things that go on the side of the things that go on the sides of the armor. Whatever the little that actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and it's gonna be a little more circular, so or fits cylindrical. So let me go ahead and put like a rough cylinder shape in here first. Something like that. So it's gonna wrap. You kind of know it wraps around the leg. And his leg's coming forward a little bit too. So we're gonna see. Gonna be. It's gonna be facing forward a little bit. So roughly that cylindrical shape of the yeah cylindrical shape of the armor piece that goes there, and I don't recall the name. Probably should look that up. But like that kind of skirt piece. What is that called? Armor skirt piece. Let me just look up armor piece. Base. Cool. Let's pull up a little graphic. Uh, the tacit, is that what that's called? God, there's so many different names. The folds. Hmm. Fold. I guess it's a fold. Tasses. Either tasses or falls, and there's probably a difference between the two. What is this? This one. Armor terminology. Let's see. Oh, what's that circle thing called? Besagi was what the circle thing's called. That's not what I thought it was called. This is a good little web page though. Lames. That's not what either of the ones said. All right, well, whatever. So it's a tacit, I guess, is the tacit's pair over lames or overlapping plates. Well, I don't know. I'm taking this image though and putting it in my ref. But yeah, so oh, that's not it right here. But yeah, so tacits or lames. Uh, wait, is this AI generated? That's crazy. Never mind. That's crazy to generate your to generate your infographic from Gemini. Okay, let's do assets, I guess. That's crazy. There's so much of this AI generated. Okay, tacit's lame. That's what they're called. Whatever. So these things on the side are called tacits or lames. In case, for whatever reason, you wanted to know. But yeah. So we're doing that's just gonna kind of go on here. Let me actually pull up an image of these because that's what references are for, is to be able to reference when you're making them. I do think a lot of Elven ones. This is a good area for the Elven influences because I think you can really get them. These can look really decorative. So let's do something rough like that. Okay, so wrap around that cylinder. Yeah, the cylinder then we'll show right here. They have something flowing like that. Wrap around and it wraps around this way, technically. So maybe something cool, something like that, just to have that in there. And then we'll do the other side. Wraps around like that as a cylinder. Um, what does the edge look like? Something like that, really roughly in there. Just get that idea. And technically these pieces connect underneath or over the cuirass or the breastplate or whatever it is. And they go over. Yeah, so also would probably want to do this something like this. And like I said, it doesn't matter as much in 2D because I mean that just looks like a mess. So we don't really need to uh, be completely uh, accurate on things because I mean right now there's nothing there. It does help, you know, does help though when you are more accurate early in your sketches because then you have to. We're still going to figure that out later, so it's still a problem for future us. It's just not a problem for us right now, this second. So it's still something we have to figure out, but we can maybe just rough something in there just to get ideas, and then we'll come in and figure that out later. But yeah, so get some of that in there. I'm not gonna work on the feet because I know that I'm probably gonna cut that out. So I don't think there's really a point in doing that for this piece right here. I do think maybe that this may be too busy. I do think that he should have billowing pants, but I think I think we have to either choose the tassets or the billowing pants because otherwise it's going to get very busy. But let me see if I can find a good reference that feels like. Yeah, I think it's either tassets or billowing pants, and I think I'm going to choose tassets because I feel like a frog feels better if it's like kind of just like that, brought in like that. Feels like frogs are more angled in like that, so I'm okay with the upper body feeling very wide, and then the lower body feeling like it comes in, tapers in. So okay with that. Just give the tassets to give some interest in there, and then we'll uh, figure out the uh, yeah, and then after the tassets, we'll figure out or not that after once the tassets come in, then we just have like a really thin pant underneath, so it doesn't. It feels like it tapers in instead of getting bigger out after we're so big up here. Because then we'd have basically we want this to feel wide up here and this to sort of feel small down here. I guess if we're really going to take this, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier about the is this is on bottom. Let me put this always on bottom. Yeah, this is what I mentioned earlier. Always on bottom. There we go. Uh, you go away. You go away. What I mentioned earlier about stylizing uh, are getting stylized references for the frog. So basically, if you can boil the frog down to something like this, I don't like that circle. Those are good just to practice circles. You can boil the frog down to something like this. that feels like a frog. So we have big upper body, small lower body, and maybe something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I can make him feel very round. It feels like a frog, and but then coming in feels like that still feels like a frog. So because I feel like a frog would not feel like a frog if it was like something about that doesn't feel like a frog. So it's just shape design, just uh art fundamental stuff. But anyway, so at this point he's good enough for the idea. I feel like the idea is there, good enough for to move forward. Probably been better, good enough for a while, but I was kind of going through the stuff just to get things warmed up. But yeah, so now we're gonna take him and I put him up here. Yeah, put him up here so we have something to look at and reference. And I think realistically, I would probably hide this and keep these whatever, but I want at least just show our work right now. I'm gonna go ahead also and do a. I'm going to go ahead and do what's the best thing to do here? Do I want to? No, I'm going to split them up. I'm going to keep them into. So right now I have them on two different layers. I have the armor and then the look. But I want to put them all together. I'm trying to think what's going to be cleanest. There's a lot of armor and stuff on him. Okay, because so there's two ways I can go about doing this. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate him again. Um, bring him up in size. So he's the main focus. I may even actually probably going to bring the other ones down in size a little bit more. We have a little more real estate. And then move you off to the side with the for the notes, and then move you over here off to the side. Cool. So now we have just Sir Reginald. Kitchen. Kitchen. Okay. Cool. So now we have Big Sir Reginald here in the at the forefront, and this is when we're gonna actually do stuff on. So, few ways we could go about doing this. I could merge everything together all at once, and then basically start sketching and doing like actual line art over, which maybe. Or we could break him into the two separate parts that we have for him, which is both the armor piece and then and or the armor piece and the body, and do those separately. So we can line art this one separately and do this, and then basically come in and do the all the other elements separately, which is probably cleaner. Mm, but probably cleaner, but take a little longer. Might get messy because we're layering everything on top of each other. Mm, okay, but no, I'm gonna do it this way. This might take a little longer, but I think that this will be cleaner overall because then we can separate all the elements out into different layers, which we might need to do. Yeah, I think that's just going to keep things cleaner for now. I do tend to like to work just all on one layer and just get kind of really messy with it. But I think for something like this with so many different layers that they're going to start to get a little merged in. Mm, yeah, no, it has to be this way because otherwise I'm just gonna be getting messy and start getting sketchy again. So, um, yeah, we're gonna keep them separate. We'll keep all the accessories separate. We'll keep his body as is. All the accessories separate. Technically, even the sword would be something I'd make separate. Okay. I guess since we're doing it this way, let's do it the right way too. And this is something I should do more, but most of the time I just end up erasing and make it lighter and erase. Um, and then I just start building on top of that piece, which I still may do. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm going to keep. I'm not gonna make a new layer for the liner because I do like to sometimes keep the sketchiness underneath. I don't know why. It just feels more like traditional drawing, maybe. But I'm going to clean this up slightly so we don't have just a bunch of loose values everywhere or like loose marks everywhere. And this is definitely a more destructive method oh, of working. That's not what to do. Can I invert the selection? Let's try. Let's do it the opposite way with this. Oh, weird. I didn't know that worked. Oh, weird. I didn't know that's how that worked. Okay, that's interesting. Alt lets you be lets you click and maintain straight lines on the lasso tool. I did not know that's how that worked. That's very useful. This was the wrong way to do this. Again, brain not doing this right. Okay, wrong way. Okay, sorry. One more time. I think I still might have done this wrong. No, that's what I'm doing. Okay. So, okay, well, this will actually work. Too. Zoe, come around. Oh, will not work like doing that. Okay. And now we come in here with the. This is not the best way to do this. There's a better way, but I did not. Okay, so we basically just took that out, and now, or we are preserving everything inside. We took the frog out of the selection. Cool. Okay, so did that. Clean it up. I can probably go ahead and do that for this as well. We're gonna do the same method because I don't know what the better method is off the top of my head. So we're just trying to get everything around the frog that we might have had a bad I just made like messy marks with. Ooh, right there. I can see that there is some there. Let's add this to the selection. And this is and to add, I guess, to when you're doing your first one, you press Alt. You can press Alt to when you do straight lines, but after you do after you do it, you press Alt to do it'll show a little minus sign, so that'll remove something from the selections. That's what I was doing to cut the frog out. Yep, that's we also want to add that. Okay, cool. So now we have him safe in there. All that stuff is safe in there, and then we just go erase all the extra little marks that might be around. Technically, I think I press Control X, it'll cut it. It's just better. A better way to do that too. That's a for sure way to cut. What is that? There's still a little something right there. You see? And this is just a little bit of cleanup. Um, and probably again not the best way to do this. I think the best way to do this would be to on a new layer make your marks. I don't know. I don't. I can merge it back in. Oh, okay, I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Okay, before I do that, let's go ahead and make a backup. Let's just do Reginald sketch backup. Cool. So this is the backup. We'll keep that there just in case we need to come back. But I am going to be destructive, I guess, with my method. Um, original uh, lining. This is kind of doing the line art. I'm just gonna do something between a sketch and line art pass. Line art would be a lot cleaner, and I think line art is still important. And if you do it well, I mean, this is essentially what you'd be doing. But we're gonna be a little messier, just because I like to have just on the same layer for some reason. That just makes me feel better. So what I'm doing here, very destructive method, but I'm just going ahead and just really erasing it to be very light. And this could, like I said, the same way to achieve, we can achieve the same thing if um we just actually stopped building. Yeah. We just if we just on a separate layer just did our line art and put the opacity low. But for some reason, being on the same layer, picking up all that energy in the sketch really makes me happy, makes me feel good. Yeah, so this is where things like line weight matter more too, but I think here we're just going to go through and we're just going to define all the important shapes and lines. And we don't need to fully just line everything either. I think that's what I usually kind of do here is we start to pick where we want the darkest points. I think even, oop, I turned that down. I think even like here, like I would think maybe somewhere right there. It's gonna get rid of some of that line weight. We don't need a full. We don't need a full line, a full unbroken line there. Let me actually get a frog reference just because now we're working on the face. See where we have any maybe possible little gaps. I guess technically their mouths kind of come over. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. I think just keep that. I think yeah, keep this. Not as. Maybe here's a little bit more. We need some line there. So, and then I think over here, where he's kind of smiling, maybe gets a little bit more weight here too. I know there's a nose there, and I do like this because I do like to set it really low here at this point because it also forces me to not just be tracing the underneath layer. I want it to actually feel. I want to also be making some choices, and I think it's easier for me to make choices if I have just this underlying structure. Because yeah, like a lot of times I'm working on sketches and things like that, especially if it's not like one with accessories and stuff. I like to just make the I like to do a really rough sketch, be really messy, get all that energy in there. And then after that, Interesting. My chat's scrolling the wrong way. I need to fix that. Um, but yeah, anyway, I like to get all the energy out onto the page and then uh come back over and just have once the structure's there, once everything's in place, it's a lot easier just to make those choices, to to build that structure, to build the design piece. Um, and so that's why line art is a lot nicer. I know originally I really didn't want to touch anything that had anything to do with line art or come back over my initial sketch, but really, it's it's now a part that I enjoy because I feel like when you're doing this, um, it's it feels like you like really really building the character and stuff at this point. And I know like I also was very when I was first starting, I watched a lot of Sam Does Art stuff, and I do like his style. That it's very messy, but I think for especially for newer artists, because I see a lot of people try to emulate that, and I do also. And a lot of my stuff is still very messy and rough. Um, but I think it's a lot of it's easy for a lot of newer artists to get stuck in the trap of thinking that, oh, like I want to emulate that Sam Does art style, and he doesn't. He's really messy. He does like a sketch and his line art all together. Um, and I want to emulate that. And I think he does. He's really good at doing that. And he's because he's also a lot more skilled than a lot of us are. And he's been doing it for a long time, so he has a lot of the fundamentals in. And it's not that he is skipping some of like the really specific line art steps, but uh he's not like really just going from his sketch to he's not really just doing one pass still. Sometimes I feel like it's it is uh still the line art step just combined into his regular sketching step. And I know I like it's easy when you're beginning because I've been in that thing, the process where it's like, oh, I can skip this line art step that feels really hard and just do the messy sketch thing or whatever. But it's there still is the same fundamentals in there in the steps he does. Just it just feels like there's not as much uh of it in there just because he's already skilled and it's baked into his process from the beginning. Um, But yeah, I don't know. All that a lot of words to not say a lot. But I think the point is doing this step after you put your rough sketch in is important, and it does I think feel like it helps actually make your piece become a piece instead of just a bunch of messy sketches or whatever. It's not as bad. It doesn't feel like once you do it enough, it doesn't feel like you're starting over. And I think that's also the fear. It's like I've worked really hard on trying to get this sketch and playing around with it and like uh and trying to get these forms in and trying to figure it out. And I don't want to mess it up or whatever or something like that. It's 'cause that's how I would feel. Um I think maybe that's why I like the method of basically just erasing my sketch uh instead of drawing over it because I think part of what Sam Does Arts does is that his method does feel like it keeps that energy because it has that messiness in there. Because you do feel like you lose a lot of energy in the line art, and that's like what a lot of artists feel. Or you feel like you're gonna mess up your line art that you or that your drawing that it took you a while to get there already. But I think if you stop treating, especially digital art, because it's easy to go back over and really tweak things until they're right. Uh, Camera again. At least it's not that hard of a fix now. But yeah. But I think it's really easy to go over your or to really tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak because you can in digital art. You get stuck on working something forever, and then it's like, and then you don't want to move forward because you can mess it up, things like that. Um, I think that erasing it and just being like not as precious with it is a good way to help you move forward to the next step and still feel like you have some of the energy you're building some of the stuff in there. Like I'm still gonna have a little bit of my sketchy lines in here too, figure out to make sure I'm following center lines and things like that, but not anywhere near as much as is the sketch stage. But I think when you just erase it, you just kind of erase and then draw over it, it does feel like it's still like it helps you treat it like it's not so precious. It does feel like it's uh it's almost like, I guess, because I have a sketchbook and I do a lot of traditional art as well. So having that feeling, or having that feeling of just of where you can't just control Z the whole time, and treating it like it's a physical, um it's like a physical sketchbook, uh does feel like it's easier to move, because on the sketchbook, and that's it's easy to get stuck in like paralysis of not wanting to move forward because you don't mess up your sketch. um but in the sketchbook too, but I need to actually, frogs have, and maybe that little thing, but they're very round. Um, but in the sketchbook, it's you kind of have to. That's part of the thing. You have to destroy your underlayer. You have to smudge things out. You have to do all that to move on to the next step. It's just part of it. You're gonna have to uh not be as precious about what you've made, uh and you have to be okay with with really destroying, like, being not so precious with something that might have taken you hours to do. Because even here, it's a lot of backups, and you can make backups like I just did. But in traditional, you don't really have that. And that's what I've done a lot of, and it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to be able to get to that point where you can do that. Because it takes a while. Some of them take a while, and sometimes you'll mess them up, and you just kind of have to deal with it and live with it. Um, but after a certain point, I think it feels it feels easier to it feels easier to move forward, because you get okay with making mistakes, and you get faster the more you mess up, especially in the beginning and things like that. You get faster, and it doesn't take you as long to get to the same spot anymore. I think in the beginning it's hard, because it takes you a while to get to certain spots in the art process, because it takes, you're building up skills, you're learning new techniques and things like that. And yeah, and you're gonna make mistakes, and those mistakes will take a while to fix, and they take a while to because those stages take a while to get to. But then after you do it for a while, you don't things get faster when you let yourself make the mistakes more and aren't precious about it. You do also just build your skills up a lot faster. Same thing with digital art too. Something that would have taken me months to build, like a character in digital art and like in ZBrush and things like that. Now I can knock one out in a day or something like that. Like, sculpting wise, it took me forever to draw a face. Like it took back when I was first starting to learn how to draw, and it still takes me a while depending on what I'm trying to do. But it's not always like, getting some of that plane, those planes in there, defining those a little bit more. It's not something that's gonna now be take me like forever to redo or to build up. Now I can do a face pretty quickly. I can get stuff knocked out pretty quickly. But the hard part is, I guess, to make progress, you just kind of gotta jump sometimes, and jumping is scary. But yeah, but if you don't jump and you don't let yourself make mistakes, then it's hard to actually uh, to grow from them. He's going to get stuck, and that's something that I have to get better about too. Especially, I think 2D art has helped me get better about that. Because I think in 3D art, it's very easy to get stuck on things, because they take so long to do. Um, like, when you're ready to get ready to animate or to unwrap something for the like to unwrap something in for the textures and things like that. It's very easy to get very easy to not want to jump to the next step, because you're not sure if you've done everything in that step. So it's very easy to get that paralysis. But usually you end up get trying to make sure you've accounted for everything, and you end up making the mistake anyway, and you have to redo stuff anyway. But I think that's still how you learn. It's better just to fail fast than to try so much to prevent yourself from failing that you never actually take the next step, because you're gonna make mistakes and you're always going to have to fix them and work at it. But easier to do that quickly and move on. I mean, obviously, you still want to spend time to have, you do need to have a certain amount of care and stuff you do and things like that. Um, but yeah, but I wanted the little bit of this bags under the eyes. Yes. So easy to have that care. You need to have that care and stuff or whatever what you're doing. But um, a lot of times you gotta just fail quickly. It's better to get it over with quickly because then you can fix it quicker. Anyway, long rant. Uh, just in case anybody pops in the stream, they have something to listen to. Cool. So rough shape in there. Um, Keeping them a little stylized. I've been trying to keep things more stylized that I do. It's not the best at it still. Definitely is something that takes a different sort of skill. I think the easiest thing to do, I think, just in general, uh, it's easy to be very realistic. It's easy to give him a little bit of muscle, maybe cut that back just a bit. But it's easy. I think it's really easy, especially for me. I guess on what I do, easy to be very realistic. Um, Easy to copy from reference. Like I can copy from reference, and it would be easy just to recreate a lot of things. I did a fly recently that was pretty good for being as sketchy as it was. I was a little proud of, like a little proud of it. But I was proud on the that I was able to copy the reference, because I was pretty much just a study, because I wanted to do a fly character. Um, I wanted to do a fly character or something design, but I was like, I need to study some flies first. Um, but yeah, so it was very easy to just take that reference and copy it and get it to the point where it looked very similar to the reference, and looked pretty good, like uh, pretty realistic. And I wasn't even trying to be realistic on that one. I was trying to keep it looser. But as far as like copying is, I can copy and study a reference fairly well now. Um, but I think to me, like, as even though I did like the the piece that I did think that the fly was well done. Uh, and it was, technically a pretty solid piece. Even being sketchy, it still was able to be sketchy and have some of the realistic qualities to it. Um, or like look realistic, look like a fly, especially from a distance. And then when you get up close, you can see how sketchy it actually was. So I've gotten better at putting details down where it need to be. And I feel like this needs to be more angular. I'm trying to find the right shape here. So still doing a little bit of sketching, which I think technically you would do like a really rough sketch first, and that would be this one that here, and then after this one you would do the kind of like this, which is a cleaner sketch, and then after that you would do your line art one. I'm kind of combining the line art one with this one, uh, because this is not it's also not supposed to be as precise. But if you're and I also I do still like a little bit of the sketch, even though I know I just went on the whole rant about Sam Does Arts not being the best thing to copy. But I do like, it is also valid that he does have some good, uh, like he does have a good technique, and does have that energy, 'cause that's what you kind of want to save a little bit. You just need a little bit of help. That's the arm right there. This frog was a warrior. He's like a knight, like a really stereotypical knight. I don't think I've given any of the lore on him, but Very stereotypical knight. But yeah, so he does have a little bit of muscle, but I'd still want to keep his arms fairly skinny for the at least the frog part of him. And I'm maybe thinking maybe snout should be a little bit. No, let's see if there's any. Like I've put in like a little. I don't know if it's worth putting anything up there. I don't think that it adds anything to be able to see that plane. Because technically the plane would be like this. Yeah, so I don't think it's worth putting anything in there. I think it's okay like that. Eyes don't feel very frog-like. I think we'll come back to that eventually. It feels too human, but definitely something to look into. Okay. This is, and technically none of this is going to be seen right here. But for me, since we're doing it this way, and we're actually doing it underneath, I'm going to at least get the references in there so I can kind of make sure that I can see the structure. And so we'd be seeing the bottom of the pec here too. So this is a little bit of shading. So yeah, something like that. Because yeah, the pec would come basically would come about right there somewhere. This is a complicated little area, and I'm also not sure how my proportions are for there, but it should be something like that. But yeah, that's the arm and pec and delt is all a pretty complicated little relationship, but also move. Light, same here. What if I do that better? I can see more of a mess now. Go back a little bit. Let's go right there. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. But yeah, so Peck is and Peck and Delt have a weird kind of see. So Delt right here, Peck comes in like right, kind of comes underneath right here. All right, where only reason I work out. Even though this week's been bad. So yeah, so Peck attaches right underneath your delt right here. So it goes underneath that muscle and attaches to the bone. So that's kind of what we're showing right here. And so we're kind of seeing this from underneath. So it's like technically like that. Well, no, seeing it from underneath, but his arms down. So it'd be like cameras above. Let's do this. Let's act this out. All right, so cameras above. We'd actually be seeing this one match up. Um, yeah, so about like that. That's kind of the angle. Something like that. You seeing the bottom. Something like that. Yeah, close enough. Um, close enough for that. Something like that. Whatever. But yeah, so your pet has got a weird relationship with that. Um, let's see now I'm invested in this like that. Curling up, we are seeing from the arm side, so the arm would be blocking in front of the pec. So yeah, it'd be something like this. I think let me just put something right. Let's do something right there. Yeah, something like that. I don't know exactly how that's going, but yeah. So anyway, point of that this was the pec goes underneath the Let's keep this round. Actually, I want him to feel. I like I like sharp edges, but I feel like this would feel better as a little more feel more fleshy. Yeah. And I also think I'm gonna go ahead and bring the light or bring the line depth right there, a little higher up. Yeah, because I want him to feel like he's kind of weighty a little bit, frumpy. Technically, here underneath we're having like a little bit of a shadow like this. I don't want to do that just yet. We're not committing to any shadows right now, for the most part. Just brief construction. So then, same deal over here. Something like that. Let's see. So he's going to be angle wise. Oop. Let's do fix camera again. Deactivate. Activate. Fun. Okay. Yeah. So he's going. He is. Which way is he? He's angled. He is ending. And this is where something with a gesture might be a little wrong. So, um, go back a little bit actually. So he's like this. Actually, let's go ahead and let's bring that back a little bit. I like the frog should feels like frogs should be bulky like that. Um, just I don't know, more triangular shaped, top heavy, something like that. And then I'm thinking maybe he's not round enough. I'm gonna round that out a little bit. This is the back piece here. This is back, and I do think frogs should be angled inward. So let's see, rib cage is right here. This angled like that. Angled back a little bit. What am I thinking for? He's like this. So if his head's like, let's do this. Okay, if his head's like this, his head's angled like this. Boom, boom. Then I think his body would be like this, a little bit lean more to the side. Technically, I think that means his legs would shift sides because that would mean that his upper would be going like this. His lower would be going lower body, which is hips, should be coming like this to get that contrapposto or whatever. Contrapposto, not contrapposto, but it's kind of like a pasta. The noodle, whatever, to remember it. So that means that his hips are coming up on this side, which would mean that he would be hip weight reference art. I don't know. That seems like a thing to look. So the one that your weight is on is going to be coming up. If in this one I think I have right now I have this leg coming forward, but I think technically his weight would be, if his weight is on this one, this leg which should be like this right now. This leg is uh going up, so technically this side should be uh going up that way, but I think that's not what it's doing, or not what I have. Um, not what I have actually happening here. So I think if we were going to fix this, and that's kind of why if we did all this at once, we just put all the accessories on top, we wouldn't figure out problems like this. But yeah, that's what this is for. Um, so I'm thinking that technically, then I think this one, if he's like this, I think if he's like this, it would be going up like this, but then we have two going in the same direction, which just feels kind of not as interesting. But if we do weird, okay, if we do, because I think there's kind of a bit of a bend here. And right now this is going up like this. I think technically it would be coming up like, but then it's also this is a this is where we get stuck. Looks like this is also a, this is a stretch. That means that this turns into the stretch right here. Okay, let's break this down to simple terms. So stretch, bend, and then if this is coming up, then this is coming up this way, below the line. But yeah, so hip would be coming up this way. Hip will need to come up right here. It's like a, this would be the top piece. This would be the bottom piece. And we'd have the hip here. This is gesture. I'm kind of going back to gesture right now just to rough it in. This is what that first part should have kind of been a little more. Technically, gesture can be its own phase too, but uh, the idea is basically that we're angled this way, bending a little. He's bending a little bit this way in this upper rib cage, so that means that the stretch is over here on this side. The bend is right here. So these are bending together. That means that the hip is coming up this way. So this is the part that I suck at the hips. Okay, so and we also have his. I really want him to have smaller hips because he's, um, frogs feel like they should have really narrow hips and really come in. So angled like this, his hips go back a little bit because basically he's like this. Actually, let me do all. I'm doing making too many marks on the actual layer that I want to do. Okay, so let me bring this back. But this is why it also helps when you have uh, when you have when you clear the bottom sketch and then start doing this piece, so you can actually see a little bit clearer what mistakes you made. So bend comes in here. We'd have a little bit of here, the bend here. We have the hips start to come up this way, basically. Weighted up here. Let's see, the hips are down here, being covered by the belly a little bit. Did all those. It's too many messy sketches. Okay, so then we bring that up just a little bit, so we're angling. If we're gonna turn this into a box, something like this, and this is something I need to do more and is better to definitely to be constructive about your boxes and things when you're doing your hips. And I am not as good as I should be at this. So technically it'd be like something like this. Also headed in the direction of the perspective would be going away from us, but something like that. I think that's getting kind of messy. Yeah, so it's like this and like this. All right, let's do that cleaner. Okay, so hips are coming like this. Hips are coming up here. So angling this way. This is the direction the hips are going in. Perspective is fading to the distance like that. Coming up like this, the horizon line. So this would be coming up towards the horizon, kind of technically, right? That's what I need to do. Okay, and then also going in the same direction as this. This is going whatever. So then this technically should be more like that. It's a really narrow perspective too, so it wouldn't be as important. This one would come this way, and that's why perspective stuff and little simple boxes like this are really good to constantly practice with. And actually think about what you're doing, because I think I do this a decent amount now, and there's certain points where I've stopped thinking about what I'm doing when it comes to perspective and just start drawing boxes and like figuring out what, like, oh, this looks kind of right and this looks wrong. That feels wrong because I intuitively know enough to do that now. But I think at a certain point, as maybe as narrow, this is a very shallow angle. At a certain point, like you start to when you feel like you know, and just start assuming that you know, you make choices without thinking about it, and that's the point of like why studying is so important still, and like actively trying to learn things, because it's easy to really get stuck on bad habits and things like that. Um, so this is important. I know I've been neglecting perspective stuff a little bit, so and boxes and simple shapes a little bit. But so I should probably spend some time studying that. But anyway, so here we have hip box. Hip is coming up based on this. Hip is turning. Hip is angled. Okay, so above. Let me do this. Okay, we're going all construction now. Okay, so turn this way. Box for, let's do rib cage. Box for rib cage. It's coming back this way. This way. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Something like that. Okay, so, and then this is the stretch. This is the pinch. And I think the hips are probably wrong still, but like this. Yeah, see, this is when you start making guesses or whatever. You're not actually, then your shapes aren't that useful anymore. Okay, yeah, so like that, lean back. Is like this. This comes up a little bit more. I think we come to right here. Boom, boom. Something like that. Bend, and then this is the pinch right here, where it's pinching. But then this is where the angle's coming up on this piece. So, and we treat this like a cylinder. It's coming in basically right here. I need to do some more soft body studies. We can do like the pillowcase and stuff like that. It's really good for practicing that piece. Anyway, whatever. All this is because there's fat and stuff here that would be pinching. Um, this brings the hip up, and then we bring the hip up. We can make the little underwear piece, and your butt is lower than your crotch, I think. Make sure. I always forget that relationship. Yeah, I think it's your butt is surprisingly lower than your crotch. I think that's one of the things like that I in when studying art. Oh, not too early. You see just a. Let me pull up my. I don't have my ZBrush thing open, do I? Nope. Do Elvis, but this is, yeah, because they're tilted. Yeah, so pelvis is lower than the crotch, right? Because I think your pelvis comes all the way here, like this, and then like that. Actually, it's not like that. It's like about the little underwear things, something like this. So something like this. And then the butt would be up here technically, yeah, because it's tilted. So your butt technically starts up there, and then somewhere around all this, you have the, I guess the, what are those called? Those hip bone points that you build off from. And then your legs would be somewhere around here. So the leg would probably be right around here. And it's coming up, and this is where the weight is bearing on this leg. So this one's going to actually come straight down. Maybe angled back just a little bit because this frog is like, I do like the idea. Which actually, so maybe bring the leg forward, even though the weight is bearing on the leg coming forward. I think for the frog, I like their legs to be, would like his leg to be bent just a little bit because I feel like frog legs just are kind of naturally bent, even if the weight's on it. Um, and then technically, since we're above the horizon line, if I did this the right way, we would be seeing the top of the. Well, we're also behind, so we'd be seeing something like the. What am I seeing here? Yeah. If we're above the horizon line, are we seeing the top of the leg like that? But it's also angled back. But it's not angled that much either. All right, let's see. Bring it forward. See, bring the leg forward. Bring this one back slightly. Yeah, we're still kind of seeing the. We are seeing the top of this leg here. The top of this leg here. Since we aren't. The leg is still angled. It's facing us. We are seeing. What are we seeing? What am I doing here? We're looking down. It's angled back slightly. What are you doing? We're not below the leg. If we are not below the leg, then we are above it by how much though? I think we'd still be seeing that much. So I think it's something like this. I don't know how right this is, but we'll go ahead and call it like this. And it'd be something like this. Just to keep that some of that bend in there because I do think the frogs should be bent slightly. Probably should be bent slightly, even if it's weight bearing. Should be back though. You know what? Hold on. Actually, take that back. Take all that back. Because I want it to be bent, but I think technically if it's weight bearing, it would need to be something like this. Yeah, something like this. This feels more right. And then we draw his little frog feet. Boom, boom. Like that for the frog feet. We're looking at this. We're looking at this. It goes back just slightly. Cool. Yeah, that feels better. Even though I'm going to go ahead and probably delete this one. This just is just us figuring out the idea. And then that means that this guy is going to be the one coming forward. Like this. Maybe slightly more back because of the coming forward, but then because it's a frog, maybe slightly more back. We're definitely seeing the top of this one. Yeah, I think that's okay. Let me see if I have any other good references for this. This is where good references would help. Because and that's also, why we learn and practice with a bunch of different gestures and things like that. I need him stepping forward, but not putting the. This needs to be not be the weight bearing one. What do I have? Anything that feels like that? Hmm. Definitely something I think note wise should be maybe standing on a rock. Technically, that might be different too. But this is definitely, I think, weight shifting and things like that. Those types of studies are something that I do need to do a little bit more because I do think that it's something that I probably don't practice enough. I think even when I do gesture drawings, I go to gesture classes and do all that, but I do think even gesture drawings, gesture, not gesture, but gesture drawings, I don't, I think struggle to get the legs right still. So something to, something I think, need to make note of studying a bit more. So keep this as the side of the leg. Let's make this leg a little bit more. Let's see, but this is why this is on a different layer because it's basically back to us. Basically back to us playing around and sketching, but getting messy again. I think maybe slightly back, but then still like the idea of keeping him in here. Keeping him a little tighter in here. Close together with his legs. I'm not fully digigrade. Digigrade. I was just working with this word yesterday. But I just wanted him to be a little bent. Light, whatever, coming forward. And again, a lot of time spent on this for something that's not going to be the probably in the final one. Oop. Let me see. Maybe so. One of the tricks I learned in 3D is that your foot always points towards or your knee points towards your foot. So we say the knees maybe pointing out a little bit more like this. We bring that back. We bring this maybe like toe here, toe here, toe here, toe here, and then yeah, that feels okay. Let me see if I can get some gesture in there without. We don't need all of this line work. Something like that. That feels okay. I'm okay with that, and we just need to, move past it too. Okay, let's go ahead and this one I will lighten up because I do want to keep it a bit in there, but I don't want to use this is not their drawing. It's not the drawing layer. But you can see like this very messy already because we're drawing, but we had to make some pretty big proportion changes. Or not proportion, just some pretty big structural changes. There we go. And then because the belly's over, belly's kind of, I don't know, what's the belly connected to? Let's see, let's go like this. Are we doing this? Like this, and then bring it up. I mean, it's connected to here, so it's gonna be coming up. And then we'll say that around right there is the hip. So, okay, let's do this. So if it's turning this way, so this is the box, this is the cylinder, turning this way, cylinder is oh, right here. We're saying the horizon line's about right here. This is almost a straight across, and then turns a little bit here, I think. I think something like that's okay. Yeah, because it's almost. So we see that this is the pecs right here. This is the belly that comes up. And actually kind of twists. So it's like this. What is it doing? It's bending, so it's. Yeah, it's a C curve, right? I think like the actual body is actual center point. If it's coming like this, the actual center point's like this. So I'm drawing the exact same line over and over again. But if I twist, if I'm twisting like this, what am I doing? So yeah, so stretch, twist, stretch, bend. So this is the stretch. The stretch is coming this way because it's stretching up here. So it comes in, yeah, it comes in higher up here, higher and higher or lower down here. So we have a big C curve like this. That's the stretch. So then it's like this, come out. The center line comes out a little bit because it's the stomach. So then it comes in around like this. This is the bottom plane here. This comes up. If it was straight across, it would be like this. Since it's not straight, it comes up a little bit like that. Okay. I think I'm okay with that. It's probably not exactly right still, but I'm okay with putting that down for now. We can see already it's getting a little too messy for like my personal taste for this piece. See the belly kind of wraps around like this, and somewhere around like right here is where it the horizon line is. But yeah, so um, getting a little too messy for I think what I would prefer it to be at this point. With all that underlying layer that we did for construction, that's why it makes it harder to build when you have a bunch of messy lines. So I'm going to just so we can start pulling. I can just turn off this other layer. I'm just gonna get some rough shapes in there for things like the crotch. Technically the yeah, so butt would be like right around there. So the leg starts right around here. Keep that right there. And then this comes in because this is the hip. This is the hip somewhere right around there. Leg here. Leg bone would technically be about like right there. Something like that. And it's a frog anatomy, so it's a little narrower, a little weirder. Honestly, I think I kind of even want to bring that in slightly, just give him like a really narrow hips. Oh no, D. If I do that, then he has to come back here. It gets a little bit narrower, like maybe something like that. This comes in a little bit here. Technically, there would be probably a little bit of squish here. Something. There's a bend. Let me just look up how to draw bends really quick. Bend in drawing. And nope. Bend So drawing. What's that little there's a way to do it. Yeah, I don't know. It's so anyway, but I don't know 100% the right way to make this look exactly right, but it's something like you bring this forward, this would start to bend right here, and this is technically your. Actually, I like that. So like this, and then this would be your oblique or your love handles, maybe in this case. This bend here, and then underneath is where the hip sits. Let's see, butt. Let's say butt right there. I like my frogs to have like little small butts too, like the real frogs. Those little like weird little butts. This one we can probably give a little bit of heavier lines there because that's that is what do you call it? That's going to have more of a activate. There we go. Camera again. Yeah, so it's gonna have more of a occlusion there. We keep this as the hips, keep them a little narrower. We're not gonna see the bottom here because yeah, that would actually be. I'm not gonna see the bottom here. I don't know what this little crotch. It doesn't really. We don't need anything crazy in there. But not gonna. We are above the crotch technically, so we're not. We shouldn't really see. Shouldn't really actually see much of the crotch. Now I'm thinking about it. You can bring it up a little bit right here. Actually, we just bring it all completely. I think technically it'll all be right here. And I think it would really be covering for the most part. But we'll just say that about right here's the crotch starts, and then maybe like right there comes down. So then basically we just leave that little bit there. Leg is going to go up higher because I think technically the hips would be higher if the crotch is that high up. It's frog though, so it's a frog anatomy though, so it's not. Doesn't need to be 100% correct. And technically, at this point, if we're viewing from this angle, the leg would probably actually come up in front of the crotch, and then it would be like something like that. Locking it a little bit. And then we can bring this leg back just a little bit more. It is slightly bent back, which means that we would see a little bit of it. Not too much though. I think I definitely need to study a little bit more on the all the different um, uh, angles, drawing bodies, and things like that. Just been a little bit of lack of study that I think I'm feeling right now. Because I think technically, if this is going back, would we not be seeing it like this? No, maybe like this. Yeah, we're seeing this. Yeah, okay, no, yeah, never mind. Yeah, no, it's right. That's right. Okay. I was tripping myself out there a little bit. Okay, yeah, so then we have the here, the back of the leg here. Bring that calf in. We don't need to be focusing on these because we're not going to see it, but let's do it because we are here and might as well get the practice in. Then we have this one that comes forward a little bit, which connects about, we say the crotch is right there. So mark the crotch right there. Then the leg is going to be maybe not so much out there, just back here. And yeah, there we go. That's better. So technically, if it's coming out instead of being down, it would be. What are we seeing? What are we seeing right here? Let's see. Is that the right way for those? Yeah, that's right. If we're looking down, seeing, should it be this way? Let's just. Is it this way? No, that would be going away from us. Yeah, it's because it's angled. Okay, yeah. So leg there. So leg there, and then since it's coming a little bit forward, it's going a little bit back because just frog legs are going to go further back. We're going to bring the calf here. That I kind of want to bring this one just slightly angled up, and then say the foot's there. This is angled up, the ankle, and this is not the. This would be technically like this. It's like right here. We come like this. Um, the foot. This is the foot. The foot will be starting right here. We have a little bit of the foot on this side. We have toe. We have what, like about 4 toes, I think, is kind of what we're putting here. I need to study the feet to really know, but something like that is roughly, I think, what we have here. I think that's a tiny bit smaller, and then bring that back in a little bit. Something like that is roughly what we'd put in here for the feet. And then this one right here, let's see, foot, ankle up, and other ankle down. Inside ankle always goes up, outside ankle always goes down. Boom, boom, boom. Too wide, I think. Do this, 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 and then this for the feet. Roughly in there because I don't know exactly what the feet should look like. I haven't done. There's just frog. There's frog feet study. The references I can use, but I don't know in my head off the top of my head, so we're not doing that just yet. Okay. Oh man, stretch a little bit. Definitely lock in. Um, definitely lock up my back one. Oh, I moved my desk down a little lower so I could have not be like so hunched up when I do the when I'm doing art or whatever or on my pad. But I now that my screen's lower, I hunch over more, and I can definitely feel that hurting. But it's supposed to be like you keep level. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's supposed to be that when you keep level, like you what do you call it? Like it's better for your posture, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I genuinely don't know if that's the if that's the best way to do that. Because I definitely feel like it's hurting my back. So I don't know, something also to check out or whatever. Checking my stuff. Cool. Right. Making sure everything is still on. Cool. Okay. Looks okay. All right. Okay, cool. So back to it. Oh, man, back is messed up. Ooh, okay, hold up. Let me take a little walk around anyway. I will be right back. Oh, whoops, not ZBrush, wrong one. Cool. Okay, back. Let me just. Okay, cool. We are back. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have rough leg shape in there. I just wanted that in there so we could turn this one off because that one makes it really messy, and I don't like how messy it is on that part. I'm gonna start to just roughly clean up these legs too. That's also getting kind of messy on the silhouette. But yeah, so we have this, and then see all this right here. Since we just went over and we're figuring all this out, this got a little messy. So if we can go back through here and just get some of those shapes back in there without it getting just like really messy. Um, this needs to be, since we have this little butt, we're gonna bring that back in. Cool. I'll bring that leg in front of it. Um, I like this, but I don't want it to connect fully. I think when you're doing line art, like making lines, I think the line weight variation or whatever really uh, makes a difference to what you're in the final look of it. I think that's what helps it from feeling super flat too. Wow, I'm just missing that mark. But uh, unbroken lines, like single unbroken lines, just aren't very fun either. So I'm trying to figure out how to make this. We do want that in there. I think something like that. Oof. Something like that feels maybe a little better. We have like a light overlap. Let me get that butt back in there. Let's clean up this line just a bit. Let's bring that line down. Since we will have an overhang there, that'll be some occlusion. I think we can say that, yeah, like this. Over that. Just a bit. Maybe he's a little too big. Let's remove his stomach just a bit. A little liposuction. Okay. Bring the crotch up some more too. Bring his stomach up. Okay. Yeah, something like that. Want it to be like a little weightier. A little weightier. Not just because I think frogs are funnier when they're a little fatter, but I think also this character, he's older. He was, a good warrior and, was very accomplished in his time and everything. But I do like the idea that he's his older age. He's a little bit more. He's lived a royal, like a noble life. So he's been, attends the feast and things like that. Has accumulated a little bit of that fine living weight on him, especially in his age now too. But I still want him to feel like he has that muscle underneath. Like it's not. He's still got some of that, like that weight. It's gotten softer, but the muscle's still underneath that underlying layer. So he's not completely just like he's not sedentary. He's just been comfortable. I think is the right way to look at it. So just getting some of those, some of that weight in there. I think the frog also just should be have some weight on him, just because I think it makes sense for a frog. Okay, so this right here. Let's see, do this. Okay. I think basically. So yeah, so something like that. I'm trying to give a little bit more of that. Yeah. This is his head turning, so its head leaning, so it's a little bit more stretch on this side, a little bit more bend here. That could be cleaner, but I think that, especially if it's coming up, would be something like that. Yeah, his head's turned so slightly, so boom, boom. So it's like S curve for that. And like that. S curve is kind of how that works. So when you're turning your head, you are going to be. There's a way that works for people, and then for the frog, there's a lot more weight on there. So what does that mean? On how it looks. So it's going to be tension's going to be on the opposite side. Mm. Yeah. Something. I think. Well, technically, if his head's turned this way, if his head's turned this way, then technically, tension would be over here. All right, I'm erasing all that till I figure that out, because there's something there that's not. So if his head's turned this way, his head's tilted this way. That means his neck is this way. The tension's over here then, but it's also tilted down. Yeah, it's also tilted down though, but or tilted, yeah, because it's tilted up, so it's like these are regular shapes, like this, and then so look, the entry point's right here, this, yeah. So then the bend's over there. You want to tilt it down, yeah, okay, that's fine. So I think that means that the where is this one frog reference I have? So once you turn, release the bend. And oh, I like I use my little camera. So his head's bent like this, stretch, down, little stretch, double chin, bend is opposite side. Yeah, okay. So bend is gonna be over here. Stretch, and then, but then the double chin, just because he's a frog and he has one like kind of naturally, is gonna be all like right here. And honestly, yeah, it comes down. It's actually gonna have a little bit of a type of frog, but yeah, assume he has like a little bit of that bubble underneath, whatever their little chin bubble thing that they have, like that. And then like something like this. We say that we yeah, something like that. So we have a little bit of the volume buildup from bending, head bending this way. Although now I'm looking at it, if the head is bending this way, these eyes are not lined up. This lines up right there. This needs to be higher. That is actually going to raise this up like that. So that. Yeah, okay. That's more correct construction wise. And then we're just gonna go ahead and if we're bending this, add a little bit of that volume there. Yeah, okay. So that's better. Um cool. Give him a little bit of a facial, I don't know, like angled up, yeah. There's a little bit of a facial cheek bubble, I guess. I'm thinking from what we can actually see, be lower, but I think because it's lower, I want to give him maybe just like see a little bit less. Yeah, just a little bit more definition on that. Um, this also needs to be a little bit lower. Like that. Okay, cool. Liking that better. Um, kind of want to make him a little bit wider. Ooh, okay. This is going to be a little bit of a eh, not too dangerous of a move actually. I thought it was going to be a lot more destructive. But yeah, just a little bit of want to widen him a little bit because of see, this is gonna go. Your delt goes in front of or front of your traps, right? Yeah. I don't know why, just because I feel like frogs just feel like it just feels better if we get that little wide. Um, widen this to that angular. Basically, since I widen him up a little on this side, I'm going to widen him up a little bit on the other side as well. I think we would see a little bit less, maybe. Yeah. So right here, right here. Actually, so maybe something like this. Yeah. Okay. That's fine for now. Something like that. Kind of, you can at least understand what it is. I'm thinking, yeah, very sloped here. And maybe it's not even a point in doing that. Ever so slight. There's something else there. And it's like this, and then so then this comes right here. Like that bends over. So, and then this is. Oh wait, no. Shoot. This comes down. This is up. No, yeah, right. Yeah. So frog head is up. So this is actually needs to be here, down here. Yeah. So this is down. Something like that. Yeah, that's something. That's about right. Like that, because it comes down this way. So this is about right here. And bring that down just a bit more. Yeah, something like that. I feel the same. But this should be the bottom. Like it should be about match up right there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, yeah, that's right. Okay. What am I doing? This is this way. Okay, yeah. Lost all the train there, but this. Yeah. So see, what is that? We do this. That hits about the right spot. Yeah, that's fine. So then I think that's about right there. Yeah, okay. Doesn't matter that much. That's just, you know, just trying to get it all in there. Something like that. Okay. And this is coming technically like this because this is so we'll say the put a belly button there, right? We keep that uh we keep that consistent. Um Looking at this, I don't love this. Towards that, so it should technically be up here. If we're looking down, the horizon line's about right here. Going down. Um What's wrong with these legs? think maybe the feet are too big too. Bring that down. Bring that. Okay. Feels okay. And then I think it's this. Because if it's coming out, oh, cool. So something like that. Again, spending way too much time on the legs because and they're not going to be even in here. Okay, so back. This needs to come down. Okay. These are going to come, arms coming back here, coming up this way. Okay, arm here. I'm going to do this, giving him 3 fingers. Okay, so hands turned out this way. He's got something like this. Joint, knuckle, this, palm. This. The palm, this is the so palm right here, so palm's there. This is the top knuckle. This is the hand. And then we have the other finger that's holding this. I'm trying to think, maybe we bring around like this. And we give that all that there. Okay, rough hands, but I'm okay with that. Leaving the flower on its own layer. Don't want to have to deal with that right now on its own. Might have to shrink this down too. I usually do my hands too big all the time. I think try to do that bigger forearm. That I don't know, maybe not. I think it's too big. Let's see. Wrist is going to go below the. Let's see. No, it's gonna go below the hand. Yeah. So come right here. I was trying to get my S curve in there. Trying to get a decent S curve in there. Okay. Boom. Okay. Cool. Feels frog-like. I'm gonna taper towards the. Yeah, it feels frog-like. I'm okay with that. So this one, almost thinking about putting this on its own layer. Actually, think I'm gonna do that. So we can put it in front, because it's gonna come in front of some of this. So like this. Taper. Where the frog has to almost be like frog like it's almost reverse of the usual forearm is what I'm trying to do here. Is because instead of tapering towards the hand and being bigger on the forearm, I'm actually doing it the opposite way and tapering uh, towards the forearm and actually making it almost bigger towards the hand, which is just different way to do it. Okay, and then gonna go ahead and erase this right here. This is basically this is the arm right here. This is the what am I saying? This is the forearm. It's wrapping around like this. Okay, forearm wrapping around like this. Gets bigger, and then it's going to sit on top of the. This is going to sit on top of the sword that we'll make. So right now we'll rough this in. We say give him 3 fingers, right? Yeah. So we'll stick with that. Um, not anatomically, accurate on the frog or anything. I think 3 fingers is for little beast creatures. I like to give them 3 fingers. I think it feels interesting enough to give them like bigger, more. Especially if you get especially if you give them like bigger, more. I don't know. Defined fingers like that or have more interesting pieces on them. So like this has more knobby bits at the top for the frog. Um, this so I keep 3 fingers, so 2 fingers and a thumb on this one specifically. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if I was sculpting it, I might give him more. But for now, I'm okay with this. We can give him more fingers if we decide we want to later. Okay. A different drawing. Okay, cool. So that's those fingers roughly in there. Technically, you would have a thumb. Is there any interesting way to put the thumb? Fingers are a really good way for gesture, but I don't know if I would see an interesting way. Maybe thumb sits like right in there around the the sword. We'll rough it in. We'll rough something. Nope. Let's see. So rough something in like that. No. Um. Hmm, I don't know. Something like that. Put something there. I don't know if we're gonna keep that thumb though. Let's see. This is didn't give a lot of the hand. There we go. Okay, cool. That is okay. That's what it is, right? And technically, the frog would have a little bit more web, um, in the fingers. Anyway, roughly where the hand would be in that shape. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start cleaning this up a little bit more, and then We'll just do a quick paint over for some of this. Really mostly light up here. Kind of keep that a little bit more, but really darken the. See, do I have anything better for a? Yeah, I have line art, right? Yeah, I kind of like the sketchiness of it. I'm gonna keep that. Cool. Um, let's do keep the textured line. So really starting to darken up some areas that are just going to have more to them, or more darken up some areas that are just going to have more weight to more occlusion to them. I think. Oh, camera again. Deactivate, activate. Yeah. So just they're gonna have things are gonna have more weight to them. Not weight again. Um, More occlusion, which is going to be areas that feel like there's more crevices or just need more visual weight in general. Which like I think the stomach is one that definitely needs it. We can make that line bigger. Let me see. Let me just make the line bigger. See if that maybe looks a little better. Bring this one forward a bit, or no, technically bring that one forward a bit. So it really has a lot more visual weight, or just feels like it has more weight to it. Um, right here, and come over the overlap. Yeah, and then like I think these would technically would look better would be ones we have like a little bit more inking like that underneath. But so this is more in inking territory, which is not one of my best ones right now. I definitely do like inking. I do admire when people can very quickly like lay down really nice forms with ink. I think it looks really cool. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go to erase again. Um, Erase again. So we have get rid of a lot of that construction. Erase this again. That. Little crotch. I'm not even really sure what we're doing with that. It's just kind of there for now. I don't really know what that is gonna be. Okay, so yeah, so this knee comes here. That goes in front of the knee. Feet. Let's not worry about it. Bring that a little bit more forward. Let's see. So we can take this. Taper this in just a bit more. Bring this back a bit more. Yeah, I like that. So I do that. That angle there more. Okay, face is where this really matters. Let's go ahead and do the lines really small, all through them, maybe the mouth. Maybe still, no, not all the way through. Ooh, and let's save. It's been a little while. Just thinking about how if I had pressed the button too many times, it could have crashed it and we had not saved. I kind of like not seeing the mouth completely still. But I do think we do need to add some more visual weight on pieces of it. And actually maybe a little less right here. Make that lip kind of come up and cover some of that. And then this part right here, maybe bring that open a little bit more. This kind of comes here. Cool. A lot of visual, or it's getting kind of loose over here, which is fine as it moves further away. What is this right here? What is that? I don't know what that was. I guess that's just the face. Maybe, yeah, I guess that's what maybe I was doing there. I think maybe come right here, give some of that some more visual weight. again right here. I think right here we get a little, it's a little too, maybe. Okay, that, see, so let's pull up some more frog stuff. Get some more of that eye anatomy. And hopefully we can get him, I want to get him a little more rendered out. We don't have that much time. But I'm thinking I'm definitely not going to finish him. Obviously, again, uh, everything ends up taking more time than I think it does. And I think streaming, it's also a little slower because I try to talk through things. Um, but I do want some more of this. So this would be the under eye right all in here. Some more of the under eye that we can see. Cool. Get some rid of some of all of this eraser stuff over here. Cool. Let's build maybe right there. A little bit more there. A little bit more there. Cool. Okay. We will say he is good enough for us to move on to the next stage. We just kind of got to force a little bit more, a little bit quicker movement. Which is, something I always need to be doing. Okay, so we have him, base body. Let's go ahead and everything we just did, we're gonna go ahead and do that on this one right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing where I pull this down. Just gonna be very light with it, and then start building over. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna give him a little ruffled thing. So it's going to be at least 2 layers. I like the ruffled, I don't know, ruffled collar look. I think it's an uh, interesting look for him. Like an interesting, it makes him feel very hoity-toity, which is kind of what he was supposed to be. He was a good warrior and like a good character and everything, but I liked him to be a little goofy in his appearance and just kind of how proper he tried to be and how much he had like was very much like a almost comical knight at the same time. But then every once in a while he would come in and he would just completely dominate the battlefield though because he was an accomplished soldier, a general I think or something like that. Whatever, he's one of those things. Um, Actually thinking about looking at his face, I think I want to maybe emphasize because his lip would actually be curving a little bit like this, I believe. The bottom right here be curving a little bit. I think maybe not that much. Cool. So lip will be curving a little bit like this. Yeah, like that gives him maybe just slightly more weight on this side. Hmm. Something like that. All right, let's try that one a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. We'll keep it light for right now. Okay, light. Okay, let's go back to outfit. So we have that little layer of that little layer. Um, hmm. Okay, but that layer for this neck piece, we have. Okay, we got only about now. Okay, layer for the neck piece. We're gonna go ahead and quickly do all this then. Um, you know what? I'm actually going to. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Um, yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to just quickly block in all this stuff. Okay. Okay. Let's give this. We're below it right now, so we're gonna give this. No, you know what? I need to do this on a different. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I need this on a different layer. I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so this one's gonna be a ellipse, an ellipse. Well, you know what? Actually, way too early to be doing that. I need to do the curious. Okay, like this. So we're going curious like this. So all that we did underneath him doesn't even really matter because it's um covered up at this point anyway. So boom, we just know he's in this little um he's inside all this fat stuff is inside this armor that he's got on. Um okay. Something like that. Okay. Bring that in here. Um know that technically that it would come to about right there. Let me say about right there. the cures piece, and then if I this is where we actually reference our armor pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and reference, yeah, so something like this. We're gonna bring this up. We're gonna go ahead and bring this up like that. Be the curious piece. We know this. He's got a little bit of a twist to him, but as far as this goes, it's kind of straighter. This is going to come at more of an angle like this right here. Actually, so boom, comes down, comes across. That becomes the point, center line, and then let's actually just bring this a lot more like that. Becomes the center line where for his pieces. Cool. Like this, and this needs to come up around like that. Okay, so that becomes his armor. Technically, some of this armor is going to sit underneath this collar piece he has on, but that's his armor. And let's just do a little quick design on it. I think I have something. I want something like this. Oh, what did I have up here? Yeah, okay, so something like this. So let's do this a little lighter. Okay, well, actually, no, we'll do that on a different layer if we do that. Okay, so here's, that's very dark. We probably wouldn't want it that dark anyway. Dark also. Like maybe. Mm-hmm. Think. Okay. What time we at? We up. Okay. So let's do. Okay. So this comes on top too. Yeah. Okay. So with this, now layer 10, I'm just gonna go ahead and do his fabric pass real quick. Okay. So this is going to be. I like the idea where it comes. I like the references where it kind of billows like this. So we're getting the bottom here. The bottom might be covered up a little bit, and my bottom might be right here, so it's covered up by the fabric. And then that comes, we need to basically follow the arm a little bit more. And then I actually think it would come up a little bit right here. So we have something like that. We can bring some sort of, for the arm piece here, we can actually bring some sort of like, I don't know, some sort of like button piece here, maybe. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do pants are gonna be very just standard. Pants are gonna be very standard Just brown pants. Almost don't even really need to. Actually, I'm not even gonna do those. I'll just paint them on or something. Um, well, maybe we can. What do we need? What do we have in one of these? One of our references. What can we take from them? There's some nice pants that we want to put on this dude. Hmm. So something. Let's keep something light. Yeah, just something. Just I think all that we really need for the pants are that they come here and they have some sort of weight to them. Something will say it's the pants comes about right there. So something there for them. Um, and then doesn't matter because we're gonna put stuff over them. Okay, so have this. And then we are going to on the other side also do a bit of a sleeve. We're not going to see the sleeve as much. We're going to see maybe something like here, like that for the sleeve, and maybe something there for the sleeve. Um, and then bring this. Um, technically, I think we would see it on the. It would be like right around here. So no, we're not going to do that. Maybe we can do. Is there anything we can do? Anything we can do on the arm piece? Would layer it. No, I think we're just gonna keep it tight like that. Give it maybe the slightest bit of volume, but lightest bit of cuff maybe. You know what? I make it slight. I got an idea. So we're gonna make it slightly oversized, maybe at this piece, so it feels like it has a bit of cuff. Something like that. That feels okay. So this. Okay, most of the fabric is in there. There's also kind of some that's in there. Okay, cool. This is going to be at the bottom piece also. So this is going to be, well, this one's going to be above. Okay, so right here we have that circle thing that I had mentioned earlier. We're going to go ahead and put that here. Okay, cylinder here. Okay, getting really messy right here with all this stuff. Okay, this is like a, I don't know, like a flower maybe. And then we're going to, beneath that at the very bottom, as that goes on top, we're going to go put like we're going to go put the cape. Okay. Um, cool. So like this, like this. Just gonna go ahead and make it all this in here. Okay, so we'll make it come right here, fold in, and then this fold in. Erase that. Cool. All right, so he's got the cape now. Important part. Right. Okay, cool. So get the cape, got that. Sword. Sword is going to be beneath the arm. Cool. And like definitely after doing this, I'm realizing like yeah, probably do need to approach this a different way. But for now, let's just get something in there. Okay, so sword. This is a bit harder one. Um, do something relatively simple. Okay, so okay, so something like this. Um, this is going to be the hilt here, and maybe even like this comes in. And then again, because it needs to connect here, yeah, something like this. Be that handguard. That can be kind of complicated on the rapiers. So something like that. Okay. So something like that for the sword. Very sketchy. Um, and then last piece is going to be the rose. And we'll keep this right here. So we'll be seeing the bottom of the rose, so we wouldn't be seeing much on top, but we would see some of the layering on the outside. Let me make this a little cleaner to start off with. So shape wise, we'd be seeing rose, maybe attach about right there. Something like this. And then we wouldn't see the top would be something like that, but we would see layers on the bottom leading up to it. Maybe like a rose layer like this that would come out. That. Let's see. That. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So something like that for the rose. Um, made some. I think it needs to come basically like that. All these pieces need to basically be layered out. So something like that. Okay, cool. Something in there for him. Okay, now let's do some finishing little touches on this sketch. I guess it doesn't be just more of a sketch. Okay. So we get some better eyes for him. Let's do better eyes. They can be slightly wished, like horizontal pupils instead of like round. But I do like him having round eyes to give him a sort of a, I don't know, like a sort of like friendly-ish feeling to him. I like the idea of him looking up. Feels very hopeful. This is a very hopeful type of character. I like the idea of him having larger eyes too, like larger pupils. Let me see. I think this needs to be more. This probably feels exactly the same as it did. It's fine. And then maybe it's maybe some major lensing effects with these eyes. Super, also super round like that. Okay, let's just do. I have all this line, these lines. What do I do with this? Nothing on this line. This one. Interesting. Ape. Yeah, let me go ahead and erase a lot of this. This is why I should have done it on a separate layer. This one. Better ways to build this up. Not the best way. But it's fine. We will improve on it. Okay. So I think for armor, we got to keep it simple. Just want to get some color on there to finish this for now. And organization's not there right now either. Hey, where's his body? What was I doing? Oh, I just want to put his mustache on. Lost a little bit. There we go. Put his mustache on. Very important part to this character. Don't know if that like that one is enough. See if I can get this something a little bit made thinner on the gesture. Nope, don't like that. Let's get a little more dramatic. Hmm. What am I missing here with his mustache? Should come up right here, should grow here, should come down right here. And let's spin around right there. I think maybe that's it. I'll have to fill that in with some color. Okay. Good enough for now. Let's just go ahead and fill them all up with some stuff. Okay. This is going to be interesting. Do color. We're gonna go we'll go a green. Very base green, because that feels like a good color to fill them up with. What time is it? It is almost 12. Not work now. Yeah, okay. Weird. Okay. I don't know how that. There we go. Because I had something selected. No, you know what? No, I want to do this. I feel like it's going to be easier. Fix all that. Okay, just go over all of this. Very roughly, we can go very roughly at first, and then I'll come through and fix it up by eating away at the certain sides. This one's crazy. That's a crazy big gap right here, though. Okay, let's eat away at the gap now. Alright, eat away at the the mistakes. Nope, that's not right. Add to that. Feet away there. Um, okay, just going through here, doing all these lasso tool things, so I can put some color in. There we go. Don't get all that. Straight, can I do that? Not very straight. This one's gonna be weird. Okay. For the most part, this should be good. Okay. Let's go ahead and brush that green on there. Let's get a big rectangular brush. Start with that green in there. And yeah, it probably shouldn't have taken me this long to get to this point too. But that's part of the learning process with the stream. Definitely feels like it getting used to doing stuff. Getting used to doing stuff while talking. Hopefully eventually get better and we can be easier to make stuff. Okay, so since we're doing this quick because I do want to get something out for the challenge I'm doing or whatever for the art piece. I'm gonna get something real rough in there, and then come to it hopefully at a later point. But at least so we can get something that feels we can get something that feels like can at least say we've made progress for today. Would like to do that, or at least get to that point. I want more green. That's too far away from the green color that I'm using. Nope, too. Nope. But yeah, now I'm just putting local colors down. These are just gonna be rough colors that just loosely kind of painted in there to get this initial piece. To get the initial the initial different colors of every item instead of mixing all the not mixing all the doing all the rendering of all the shadow and everything. It's a way to do it for sure, but not what I'm trying to do for this one just yet. Let's do some orange eyes. Just getting colors of things, and then you put the shadow on later. And may do like a multiply layer. May actually do, since this wants to be a little more painterly eventually. May just start actually trying to do uh the colors, like the actual colors, picking different colors, and once I get a base in, but like picking different colors, based on the shadow and value, based on the value and local color. So finding that color that is that color at that value. It's harder to do it, but I've done it before. Harder for a big piece like this, but if I can get a, I think if I can get a decent local color, see, here I'm seeing part of the issue that I did with this drawing on his eyes. Yeah, part of it, so we can get the local color laid down and initial base colors in, then you can start adding from there and really finding the specific colors you're looking for. It should be this one. Nope, this one. Hmm, yeah, this one. And eventually I would want to, yeah. Eventually I would want to, all these lines are going to eventually be merged in as well to the bottom piece, or to the actual color piece, but no. We're just gonna lay them all in. Okay. What time is it? 11:28. Okay, so we're gonna get all that. Okay, so I would, if I was doing this less messy way, I would probably put all these on separate layers for local colors. But since we're doing this a little messier with this, I'm going to actually put them, just do all local colors on this layer. Maybe just masking, just lassoing uh, to get a good shape in. Okay, so that's all that there. Almost want to do. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do duplicate layer, duplicate this clipping mask that I have, as this layer I'm using for the clipping mask. So create clipping mask, and then I'm gonna put this new painting layer. Oh, may cause some issues. Yeah, put it above this guy. Oh no, this is that piece. Whoops. This needs to go there. Yeah, that's gonna cause some issues. Mm, um. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and just gonna. I think I'm just gonna have to put one, yeah, above this layer, make like a separate kind of clipping mask. We'll just put it over. This is gonna be for the apparel. Hmm. Hard to right way. Okay, well, this is one of those things that, like I said, you gotta fail quickly. Um. Okay, let's do Okay. Oh, I can see where I made a mistake here, how I did this, how I organized this, but it's fine. We were just gonna keep chugging along, get it through. Okay, cool. Let's just pick a light whitish yellow, like a beigey kind of color, I think. Nice. And that's gonna go over the, technically this is going to go over the, what are these things? I don't know what I turned on. That's gonna stay on because I can't undo that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here. Boom, boom. Okay. Keep this above. I'm going to go above the cuirass. Yeah, the breastplate. Okay, cool. That works. The cuirass is gonna go right here. This is such a bad way to do this. I need to clean this up, and we will clean this up another time. Okay. Um, yes, that's fine. There we go. Roughly. Okay, yeah. It is good enough. I need to do that. I need to get rid of this because that it's going to go over the lines. Okay. Roughly, let's do something that's a little bit darker, maybe something bluish gray. This is above my cuirass lines, isn't it? There we go. Cool. What are we at? Level 34. Okay. Let's do something about like the fabric now. We can do the cape, the hand, sword. Where's the fabric at? The fabric should be beneath the cuirass. It is not. Hmm. Actually should not be beneath the cuirass. I think I was right on that one. Technically, this is coming above it. It's both. All right, but we're going to keep it there. We're going to do beneath it. We'll do the fabric now, and we're going to keep this a, let's do something like a red, maybe. I think a red feels about right. Goes good with the green. Cool. Okay. Okay. Gonna come like here, get grab that. So then we're gonna get a dark red, basically like a maroon kind of fabric. Come through like this, come through like this, through like this. Grab that, and then I actually think I'm gonna go ahead while we're here, maybe get a little more brown, make it maybe a little more orange. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this into something a little bit different in color, so we're not the exact same as the fabric that we have. And then also these as well. I don't think I want them red. No, maybe just like a dark, maybe dark blue. No, nowhere in between that. That, yeah, maybe something like that. Hmm, maybe an orange, maybe brown. Hmm, not entirely sure. Maybe just dark. What do we think for that? What do we think? What do we think? I'm thinking, yeah, maybe just dark. No. Um, maybe just the same color. Like that though. Or gray. Something like that. Okay. Now we have this. We can ever so lightly do this. Mm-hmm. See this. We have that. Interesting. Um, um, like this. Okay. Something roughly like that, just for getting something in there. Okay, let's just do what we got, 40. Okay, let's do the layer beneath this, the rose. We can do bright red for that one. I'm surprised the camera's still on. Darker red. And then Ooh, okay. What is the color of the cape? It should be probably, I would think, like a dark brown or red also. Okay, let's take this red and maybe make it a real dark one. Hmm. No, it needs to have some color to it. Maybe like a dark green. It was too close to his skin, but okay, we'll keep it a red for now. I need a gold actually. Do something gold, maybe. And then let's just do a little bit darker, a little bit cooler. Yeah, that's more. Actually, let me just do. I can do a clipping mask for that. This way we can just do quick little great clipping mask. Okay, cool. And then just throw all this color down on that. I like that color. Okay. Um, and then let me just do a quick. Oh, you know what I need to do? And the hand, the hand. The hand needs to come above the. Yeah. So here, we'll get the hand, bring him up, just color in the fingers. It needs to be actually above like everybody. Maybe one. Okay, and then sword. Okay, um, and we'll do this as like a bluish steel, something like that. Do this. Okay. And then, okay, so that's that in there. And then we have to give a little bit of a pommel, just something put in there. Okay, keep that maybe honestly, maybe even bring this a little bit more. Do like an orangish color. Yeah. Do something like this. Put a little bit more there. And then just bring something like there. Maybe this is where the actual handle is. Something like that. Okay. And then like this, like this, like that. Just some sort of rough pommel in there that's too close to the actual. Okay. Well, very rough. Not the best, but gonna have to do for this time. Also, I'm realizing that this doesn't connect anymore to the pants the right way. So we have to move, gonna have to move the whole leg and yeah, I have to move the whole leg and either the whole leg or the arm and the sword. I don't know, but roughly this is kind of what we're going for. This is the look we're looking for. Yeah, just this is finishes up for the stream. Uh but I think definitely going to have to really come in here and fix this and clean it up if we want to take this further. So maybe I'll do it, maybe not. I think I will eventually. I really want to at least figure out some more design pieces and things like that. But yeah, for now, at least thanks for stopping by. This is going to be all we're doing for this one. And